Good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us today for our webinar on how to recruit top talent to your community. We use a slightly different format. We use a 30-minute format. If we have any time at the end, of course, we will have question and answers. But I do encourage you to email me directly at my email address or give me a call at my phone number, which will be published a little bit later. And also, if you'd like a copy of the presentation, I'd be glad to email you one. So today's outline is going to be a little bit about more diversified services, a little bit about myself, talk about a shift in focus and recruiting top talent. And then don't forget to mark your calendar for our next webinar, which will be November 18th at 1 p.m. again. And that's going to be on a Wednesday this time. We're moving our schedule around just a little bit, but be glad for you to join us. And we'll talk a little bit about how you can use PR to help generate occupancy for your community. A little bit about more diversified services. We are a national full-service boutique consulting firm based out of Fort Worth, Texas. We specialize in senior living and healthcare for both the not-for-profit and for-profits. We've been in business for over 40 years, and we offer a myriad of services from marketing and competitive analysis to SWOT analysis and strategic planning help, which if you haven't started that, now would be a great time to start planning for 2016 to get a jump on your business plan. We also work with communities with employee turnover analysis and retention strategies, and we also have a shared executive agreement. Basically what that does, it allows you to take advantage of our database of knowledge and all the years of experience here at More Diversified Services and put that to work for your community in smaller hourly increments. But again, if you'll give me a call, I'd be glad to go over how we might work for your individual situation. My name is Roy Barker. I'm the Director of Special Projects here at MDS. I've been here for over 15 years now. So you can see my background is in finance and gerontology, and my specialties are generally in operations, marketing, employee retention, and then we also do some training and coaching for executives, executive directors, and marketing staff. So let's get right into it. We've got a lot of material to cover today, but I think the basic message, and I could probably just show this slide and stop right here, but what I really want to get across today is that good recruiting equals marketing for talent. And what I want you to think about when we say that is marketing as in the way that your marketing departments go out and market for residents and market for new business. So why is proactive recruiting so important? Well, number one, it can help us reduce the extremely high cost of employee turnover by reducing that turnover itself. And what we want to do is create an awesome company culture. And one way to do that is by having longer tenured employees, and it also comforts our residents as well. It leads to increased resident satisfaction. One thing, when you get older, change is very difficult for you. And so it's very hard on our residents when we have staff that turn over consistently. And I have worked with communities that have turnover in the 100+%, which means that, if you have an average community of 80 units and you've got about 40 employees, that means that you're turning over 40 employees every year. And if you have multiple locations, say 10 locations, 400 employees, then that means that you're hiring 400 people a year. That's a lot of change, and that's hard on any organization. The other thing this does helps us maintain or increase occupancy through two ways, either attracting new residents and also reducing resident turnover, which is an important key as well. And one thing to remember is that having a lot of applicants for a position that you advertise doesn't necessarily mean that you received an application from the best person from that position. So what can we expect out of reactive recruiting? Well, what happens is we have a lot of job hoppers that are filling those jobs because we don't have the time to take to, investigate all our candidates thoroughly. We take what we feel like is the best qualified applicant based on usually on their resume and a very short interview. And it's hard to tell in short interviews if somebody is a good fit for your company culture, good fit for your team. So what that also leads to is increased employee turnover and decreased resident satisfaction. Turning over an employee nowadays, even for a $10 an hour employee, you're looking at about $5,000 to $7,500 to turn over each employee. Your nursing managers, your executive directors, department heads, sometimes you can look at up to 100% of their salaries is what it costs you to turn them over. And then also, if you're looking at, a C-suite executive, they can be up to 200% of their salary. And I read an article the other day by the chairman of Yahoo. He quoted a book that said that a hiring mistake can cost you 15 times their salary. And the example that they used in this particular article was if you have a $100,000 employee and you make a mistake in hiring, that can eventually cost you about $1.5 million. So there's a lot of dollars at stake. Not only, do we want to worry about the money, we want to worry about the effect it has on the residents, but we also worry about the effect it has on the company culture and the other employees that do stay around. This is a drain on company culture, can lead to decreased occupancy, and the competition for talent is only going to get worse. With the employment rate going down and a lot of new jobs opening up, we have seen a dilution in talent, and it's also with all the new communities that are being built in some markets, that's even putting more pressure, to finding good talent to staff our communities. So one thing we want to do is we want to define the criteria up front. We want to make sure that the job requirements are up to date. So whatever the HR is putting out there is the real deal. We don't want to, advertise for one set of criteria and meet that only to find out that that's really not what the job encompasses anymore. We want to best thing to do is go out and talk to the frontline managers and make sure that these duties haven't changed. If they've added new responsibilities, make sure that's included. That way everybody is on the same page for this prospect that we're hunting. We also would like to seek input from others in the department. What attributes do they think it takes to be successful in this job? And that can give the hiring manager a clue when he's not only putting out the job posting, but also as he's talking to people, he can be cueing in on these specific set of needs that a worker has to be successful in this position. Also wanted to develop a feedback system to help us with improved hiring. If we can do exit interviews, that's great. A lot of times we don't have that opportunity, but we can also talk to the fellow employees to find out if they have a clue why somebody might have left, what we could do better in their hiring process. And this will help us to narrow down a wide candidate pool. As we're going to talk about in just a little bit, the internet's been a great tool for recruiting because we can cast such a wide net, not only over a diverse population, but also over a huge geographic area. But the downside to that is that you can be flooded by applicants that don't have anywhere close to the skills that are needed for a certain position. So basically then you spend a lot of time just thumbing through applicants that are have no chance of filling this position. Also, what we want to do is we want to try to hire those that will add value. We can look at a set of uh, we can look at what at their resume, at their education, at their skill set, but really think about how could this person or be looking for a person that could add some other dimension or some other value to the job in which they'll be doing. One thing we want to do, like I say all the time, is we want to avoid this internet trap. And we can relate this to the resident, marketing for your occupancy for your residents, that the marketing department can't just post, hey, we have a room over here, and the right person walks in, signs up, and it's a done deal. If it was that easy, we wouldn't have a sales and marketing department, and all our communities would be 100% full. It takes a lot of work to go out and find a resident, just as it takes a lot of work to go out and find the right employee. Internet postings alone will not produce these desired results, and we are seeing that more and more every day. It's just too wide of a pool, and there are too many people that just don't even have the right set of skills for the job. But then also we have people who are dishonest, that they will write a resume making it look like they have exactly what you're looking for, and then it's only once you bring them in and do an interview that you catch on. And unfortunately, there are people who are good enough at the art of deception that there are some that can even come in, fool you through an interview, get placed in a job before you find out that it's a terribly wrong hire. Sometimes it can take days and days to sift through these applicants. There are some of the hiring managers I talk to, they may get thousands of applications for one job. And if you can imagine, trying to dig through that stack or look through them online, however, to try to find, the right fit, it is a big burden. And that's why we want to talk a little bit about focusing on developing relationships. That's something that you really can't do on the internet just by posting a job out there. You don't really have that chance. That's what's so important today. And the other thing you want to do is it doesn't allow you to really promote yourself and promote your company. It's just it's just some more text on an internet post, and somebody's hitting respond to it, and you don't really have time to. They don't know who you are, and you don't know who they are. And then one thing we want to really focus on is just being an employer of choice. You want people to be lining up to want to come to work for your company or your community. You don't want to just have to go out and grab whoever you can just to fill a position. As I said, the labor markets are tightening. The other day I read a stat that said it's taken an average of 50 days to fill a position. Now, some of that is because of bureaucracy within the company of filling positions, but also it is a function of getting so many applications for a job and having to sift through that, but also not even finding the right talent in the first one or two waves of applications that you receive online, having to repost and keep looking for the right skill set and attitude that you need. This is why we want to always be recruiting constantly. We want to have 1 to 2 ready now recruits, people who you can pick up the phone and give a call and say, got a job opening, and they're willing to come to work for you. One thing we want to do too is if you interview somebody and you don't like them and you know that they're not a right fit, it's better just to be honest and let them know. Don't leave them hanging, wondering what's going on. And this also, being proactive, allows you to devote more time to this process. You're not under the gun to make a hire right this second, and you have time to build these relationships to see who the real person is behind the application. And this is like being an athlete. It's not something that you just decide tomorrow you're going to wake up and change the way that you you hire people and that you recruit, and everything will just fall into place. It takes a while to build that muscle, to uh, be repetitive, to build a system and build a process that leads to you to the right talent that you're looking for. You want to develop methods to get to the heart of prospects, and attitude should definitely be at the top of this list. Was reading the book by Dale Carnegie, and also it was backed up by a Harvard study recently that says about 15% of your success is due to your technical ability, your skills and knowledge, and about 85% of it's due to the way that you interact with other people, to your personality, and to your attitude. So it's very, very important. And unfortunately, we can't be fooled by what candidates tell us. We have to look for ourselves. I had an unfortunate incident not long ago where I had a young lady that I was going to hire, and thought she was a perfect fit. And I did a little bit more looking into her background and found out that she had presented me with a resume that said one thing. I looked on her Facebook account, and it had a totally different work history. Looked on her LinkedIn, had a third total different work history. And I also found some very sexually explicit pictures that she had posted on her Facebook account. And anyway, just a little bit of extra effort with me, going through that, trying to check her out, really saved me from making a really bad hire. And this is part of it. You got to get out from behind the desk. One thing I like to try to do is meet candidates in kind of a neutral territory, either a coffee shop, if there's a park nearby, just somewhere we can sit down, kind of disarm everybody, be more ourselves, and just get them to talk. And you'll be surprised how they will open up to you when you're not in a traditional across the desk interview. And like I said, neutral spot where you can talk, and then also, be sure and take advantage of social media and look up all that you can on them. While we want to call references, legally, there's not a lot they can tell you. They usually will give you a, hire date, termination date, and if they're available for rehire. But one thing you can do is sometimes, if you're not under the gun to hire, if let's say, you've been noticing John Doe wants to come to work for you, that really don't have a position for him, gives you a chance to talk to other people that he's worked with and worked for, not in a more of a official capacity, but maybe just talking to them in a casual conversation to find out a little bit more about how they were on the job, things like that, and that would allow the other parties to be a lot more open with you. Sometimes you'd be surprised when you just have a general conversation with someone, how much more they will open up to you. So what we want to do is we want to try to find different ways to identify top talent, and there's a ton of them out there. These aren't the end all be all, and it's even good that you kind of develop these cues for yourself, for the different positions that you may be hiring for. But one thing I like to look for is the we versus me. I want somebody that's going to be a team player, and that's where you can ask questions about their friends and peers, and just talk about how they may interact outside of the workplace. Are they social? What's going on in their life in general. We want to make sure that they're culturally compatible, that especially in our business, that they're empathetic, compassionate, caring. They have to have a giving spirit. This is definitely have to have a servant's heart to be successful and to last in our business. Want to, also ask a few business related questions just to see how they may handle certain situations and opportunities that will arise. See if they lean toward analysis or instincts. While we do want them to have some background to be able to do an analysis, they need to have good instincts because they're going to be put in positions that they don't have time to go back and spend 2 or 3 hours researching something. So while they have a good base to work from, they also have good instincts. And the other thing too, you can get caught up in what we call analysis paralysis, that somebody can take so long analyzing a situation and what might be the right answer that the moment goes by and somebody else has to make the decision. So we want to get in that position. We want to make sure they have a pretty good mix of a good base to draw on, a good base of knowledge to draw on, but they also have good instincts to make good decisions in the moment. Talk to them about what they read, what they watch, what they listen to on the radio. It just gives you some insight, a little bit more insight into their personality than the job skills that they have written down. And everybody likes to talk about what they're passionate about, whether it's arts, their kids, their family. And we want to talk to somebody, a good prospect would be somebody who's comfortable digging in and getting their hands dirty. We don't want them to be scared to just jump in and make a difference in our communities. And here again, we want to look for that passion, the vision, the drive, integrity, credibility, self-awareness, and eagerness. We want to find somebody who has a great mix of all those characteristics. So sometimes, like I said, there are people who interview great, and when we hire them, it's like 1 or 2 days, and you and your team know that was a huge mistake. And then sometimes, unfortunately, you're stuck for a period of time with that person with whatever their deficiency may be. So this is where it's great that you can invest more than an hour or so to try to build a relationship, to find out as much about them as you can, but find out, how they react, how they act over time, because a lot of them can fool you for 30 minutes or an hour, but if you know somebody for months, they're not going to be able to fool you for that length of time. Looking for the talent, the drive, the expertise, and the passion. Somebody who's an independent thinker and a strong leader. And then we want to see about a position match. And a good example I could think of was sales and marketing, that if you have a true salesman, they want to be out closing and working the deals all the time, where somebody is in marketing, they're more about designing ads and about a whole nother set of tasks that they perform. And so if somebody comes in and they interview for a sales position and you say, I'm not sure if I have anything right now, but I've got something in marketing, if they're willing to jump at that, then they probably wouldn't be a good match. So you can do that with other positions and other skills and that somebody may have, just to make sure that they are going to be a good fit for that particular position. And then you can ask direct questions too, like, what do you think of the company? Why should I hire you? What makes you different than any of the rest of these candidates that I'm going to see? If they can't handle the tough questions, then it's very doubtful that they're going to be able to handle tough situations that they may get into. And also, it's a great idea to involve others. If you have an opportunity to put together a committee of peers that can also interview, because they're the ones that are going to have to end up working with this person. So it's very good for them to see, get a chance to talk to them, ask them questions, and they may be able to give you some really good feedback as far as if they think that they will fit or not. Also, one thing you can do too is just do a, maybe a couple hour tag along. Sometimes people will come in and hear it a lot. It's like, oh, I've taken care of my grandmother and my forever, and I love senior adults, and so this is all I've ever wanted to do. But they don't really understand the job, and so once they get on the job and see what's going on, they have very different views about it, and usually they'll want to quit or just not show up one day. So sometimes letting them come in and kind of walk around for an hour, a couple hours to view what the job is like is a good idea. And here again, the hiring impacts the team, and so let's be sure we take the time to pick the right one. And go with your gut. You have to be open to suggestions from teammates as well. But if you've been in a hiring position for very long, usually you have pretty good gut instincts. One thing you can think about too when you're trying to fill positions or when you're looking at potential candidates that you may want to bring in the future is think about what are the wants and their needs. And I saw a survey the other day that was talking about, women, the important points for them are the work and life balance, and then also they like to be in a good location, usually close to home. Whereas men, they're looking for career progression and a financially stable company. So here again, I want to reiterate, good recruiting equals marketing for talent. I just can't stress that enough. So what happens when we're proactive and we're recruiting instead of just posting on the internet? Well, number one, we're not on the clock to make a hire. So it gives us time to do all these things that we've talked about. It gives us time to try to build relationships with candidates, gives us time to talk to, their peers and previous employers, gives us time to check them out thoroughly on social media. And, it even gives us time to see them in social situations where we can see how they react in a group if they're out networking, and we can also watch them on social media over time. What are they posting? Do they have negative attitudes? Are they always just unhappy, or are they happy, posting positive things? Makes a big difference. Of course, we get more time to, investigate our candidates, follow on social media, get the real message. And we want to treat the candidates well. We want to keep them informed and respond to their phone calls and emails. The tide is kind of changing. There for a while, it was the hiring person's market. They could do just about anything they wanted. People were so hungry for jobs that I think we kind of forgot how to treat candidates nicely and respectfully. So now that the tide is turning to where the job seekers kind of have the upper hand, need to be sure and be respectful to them, keep them informed, and especially with the estimate of up to 50 days, it's hard for somebody to stay interested for 50 days in a job if they're not sure where they're standing, if they don't hear from you. So be sure and use communication. Talked a little bit about getting out of the office, getting out from behind the desk, and try to get out and speak to high school, college programs. A lot of people don't really understand our industry, and so what this gives you a chance to do, it gives you a chance to go out and not only spread the message of your company, your community, but also our industry. There are a lot more jobs than direct caregivers, and so explaining to young students that there are these opportunities and what they might entail is a great way to get them interested. You may also find some people who are able to intern or work for you during the summer, where you can build those relationships with them over a long period of time and train them up in the way that you train them up in your company culture and the way of your processes and procedures. Don't let somebody else teach them all their bad habits. Can also go to specialty training programs like nursing schools, CNA trainings, hospitality and culinary programs, maybe even music programs. There are a lot of places out there to go to get people interested in the senior living field. And then, of course, you can do job fairs, either one that you put on or somebody else that you just participate in. And the other thing is develop referral sources. Uh, have contacts out in the community and that are always looking for you or always thinking about you, that if they run across somebody that they think is a great candidate, they can either give you their name or send them to you. It's kind of like resident referrals. They're usually the best when you can get an employee or a friend to refer somebody. They'll generally make a really good employee. And of course, we must be social. We have the Facebook, the LinkedIn, the Google Plus. We don't want to just broadcast. We want to be interactive. So if you find people who you think may be good fits for your company, interact with them. Let them know you're interested, and that you may have something coming up in the future, and keep them interested in you. Be able to build your brand. Just like hunting for residents, you want to build your brand as a great employer that people want to come to work for you. Another good idea is to use a newsletter, similar to what the resident marketing people use. Is you can use one to engage in prospects. You can also use it to engage with your current employees, but then also share it with prospects and other people that might have signed up for it. Let them know what's going on in the company. They can see what y'all do for training. They can see how you reward your employees. Hopefully they'll see some pictures of happy employees, and again, it'll make them want to come to work for you. Of course, we have direct mail and email. The employee referrals are a great source. Getting out of the office. So also we want to think outside the box. In addition to recruiting, we have to have a good onboarding. We can't just hire somebody, dump them into a position, and think that they're gonna just flourish. We have to be very calculated with the orientation procedure and try to give them specific job and company training, because even though you were a direct care worker or a bookkeeper at one community across town, doesn't necessarily mean that they know your processes and procedures or what you're looking for out of them. Everybody's just a little bit different, so be sure we don't take it for granted that they know exactly what you want, but go ahead and have a good onboarding process in place. And then training for both new and existing employees. We want to try to give all employees an opportunity to advance. We want to have mentoring programs. That's another thing that sometimes new employees are very hesitant to go to their manager and talk to them. And if we have a mentoring program in place, they can go to one of their peers and maybe ask questions or get a little bit of help to make them where they don't feel quite so as alone. But we want to make sure whoever we assign as a mentor, make sure that not only they have a great skill set, but they need to have a good attitude. We don't want to assign somebody with a poor attitude to mentor somebody else, because that will turn into a disaster. Want to challenge employees. If we have one-off type projects that we can give an employee to help stimulate them, help their growth, keep that in mind. Also, praise and rewards. We don't have to be elaborate and throw ticker tape parades for employees all the time. A lot of times it's a pat on the back. Maybe it's a $10 Starbucks or Kroger gift card. And a lot of times it's just recognizing that you know their name, that you saw them do something good. We don't hesitate to try to, we don't hesitate to bring up things that people are doing bad, but sometimes we're a lot less eager to pat people on the back when we see them doing something good. So always be, when you're out walking the floor, always be looking for somebody that's doing something right. Walk up, pat them on the back, say, hey, you're doing a great job. And then we want to really get to know our employees. We um, need to know what their life situation is. So if they start coming in late, they start missing a lot of days. If they're a good employee worth saving, we can get to them soon. And it's unfortunate. I've worked with companies in the past, and one of the questions I always ask is, well, what was their situation at home? You know, were they a single parent? Did they have kids? Were they taking care of their parents? You know, what was going on in their life? And a lot of times nobody can answer that question. And uh, you've just got to know a little bit. You can't be intrusive and, you know, ask inappropriate questions, but sometimes, you know, just in the course of a day as you're talking to people and listening, you pick this stuff up. So, you know, always be open to listening. The more you know, the better off that you'll be. And then we kind of always want to look for people that think a little bit different. Uh, Somebody coming in maybe that doesn't have senior living experience, they may bring, you know, a great skill set to the table, and they may be able to see other problems and opportunities that you're so used to working around that you don't notice. Sometimes we can get so close that we don't notice things. So uh, having somebody that thinks a little different is not always a bad thing. It can even inspire creativity. And always be recruiting, and that even when you're out shopping, when you're out eating dinner, uh, it's always good to keep your eye open for potential employees. A great idea I heard of was make a referral card to hand out. So if you're at a restaurant and you get really good service from somebody, you know, give them a card and tell them to come see that you'd like to put them to work for your company. Also, you know, at schools, when you're picking up the kids, when you're up at kid functions, you just never know when you're going to run into somebody who will make a good employee. Friends and neighbors, kids, friends, church. So, what are some of the side effects from proactive recruiting? Well, naturally, we're going to get some really great employees out of it. But we could also find volunteers. We may find prospective residents or their families to talk to let them know what a great community we have and how you could serve them. We'll find referral sources out there who are willing to tell us about these people that they think would be a good fit for your organization. And then at the very least, we'll make some new friends and acquaintances out of it. Well, thanks again for taking time to um, listen to our webinar today. Again, save the date for November 18th. That's a Wednesday, again at 1 p.m. Central Time. And we're going to talk about creating PR for your community. If you have any questions or comments, or if you'd like a copy of the slides, please don't hesitate to give me a call. Be glad to talk to you and send them to you if you need. Thanks a lot and enjoy the rest of your day.